So anyone who tells you that writing a book is the hardest part of getting published is just plain wrong. The hardest part of getting traditionally published is getting a literary agent. And often the hardest part of getting an agent is getting your query letter just right. So today in this video, let's discuss the do's and don'ts of writing a query letter for a literary agent. Before we do, this is a great time for you to grab my query letter. It is down there in the show notes below. Click the link and it will wing its way straight to your inbox. You can compare it with your own, contrast it, see what I did, see what you did differently, and use it to hone your own letter and get it just right. Again, it's totally free and it's down in the show notes below. So query letters are an essential aspect of the publishing industry and the publishing process. They're usually the first point of contact between writers and agents or publishers. A well-written letter can open the door to a potential publishing contract and a lifelong career in writing, and a bad letter can just as easily slam the door to that shut. So here are some do's and don'ts of writing a query letter that can help increase your chances of getting a full manuscript request and possibly even an offer of representation from an agent. And of course, let's start with the do's. Number one, do address the agent or the publisher by their name. Always start your letter by addressing the agent with their actual name. Avoid using generic salutations like "Dear Sir, Madam," or "To whom it may concern." This should really be a no-brainer, but I keep seeing literary agents mention this online in their own do's and don'ts, so somebody out there is still doing this. Remember, you're addressing a real, live, living person, so please use their name. Don't talk to them like you're a robot. It'll only hurt your chances if you do. Do keep it concise. A query letter should be no more than 1 page long. Keep it concise and to the point. Avoid all unnecessary details and explanations. Agents really do just need to know more about your story than anything else, so try and focus on that. You can talk about yourself a little bit, and we'll talk about that in a second, but generally what agents are looking for is your story good? Are they going to resonate with it? So make that the core of what your letter is all about. Do, and this is really important, follow the submission guidelines. Each agent or publisher has their own set of submission guidelines. Make sure you follow them really carefully, because if you don't, it can result in your letter being rejected without ever even being read. And what a waste that will be for your story. I'm talking here about major deviations, the letter being way too long or just not at all addressing what the agent's looking for. It's really easy to stick to submission guidelines because generally they're all really similar. So just take that as an easy win straight away. Do highlight your writing credentials. If you have any writing credentials, awards, degrees, mentions, previous publications, do mention those in your query letter. These credentials can help increase your credibility, that's why they're called credentials, and increase your chances of getting published. It doesn't mean you can't get an agent without writing credentials, without an award or a previous publication, but if you have anything in your holster, you may as well use it. And finally, do use a compelling hook. Your query letter should include a compelling hook that immediately captures the agent or publisher's attention. The hook should be a brief summary of your story that immediately highlights the key aspects of what makes it unique and what makes it different and sets it apart from other stories in the genre. And that, I think, is the part of your letter you should probably spend the most time getting absolutely right. Make your hook irresistible and the agent will be compelled to keep reading the rest of your letter, because that's got to come right at the start. And now for the don'ts. Number one, don't include too many personal details. A query letter should focus on your writing and your story and not really so much on you and your personal details. Personally, I think it's okay to include a few details about yourself as a person, but make sure you keep it brief and to the point. And always make sure it's relevant. You don't need to tell an agent, where you've been on holiday, the names of your pets, what TV shows you like watching. If it's relevant to your story in some way, and it's concise and it's brief, you can put it in there. But remember, your main focus should always be on your story above all else. Next, don't oversell your work. While it's important to highlight the strengths of your work, don't oversell it in your query letter. Don't try to make out that you've written the next incredible bestseller, and don't compare it to other already incredible bestsellers that exist. Be honest about your work's strengths and weaknesses right from the get-go. Don't use flowery language. Avoid using flowery language or excessive adjectives in your query letter whenever you're describing your book. This story is amazing, it's unforgettable, it's totally unique. No, none of that. Stick to clear, concise language that accurately conveys what your story is about and its key elements and why those elements will be relevant to that particular agent. Don't send unsolicited manuscripts. The last thing that your agent wants is to get a letter that has an attachment or a link to your full entire manuscript, because they just won't have time to look at it. Stick, as I said before, to the submission guidelines and only send what the agent is actually asking for, which is usually the first 3 chapters of the first 10,000 words. I would say if you break that rule, that is pretty much guaranteed to get your query thrown out. And finally, don't make multiple story pitches in one letter. A query letter should focus on one story pitch at a time. If you include multiple story pitches in one letter, it can really easily confuse the agent or the publisher and pretty much get your letter thrown out straight away. So a well-written query letter is essential for getting your work published if you're going down the traditional publishing route. If you follow these simple do's and don'ts, you will massively increase your chances of success and make a positive impression on literary agents and publishers. Remember that writing a query letter is an art and it takes time to get it right. Keep refining your letter over and over again until you get it absolutely spot on. Again, make sure you jump down to the show notes below, grab my query letter, use it as an example of one that did work, and compare it with yours and use it to hone your letter and get it absolutely right. It's free, it's in the link below. Hit the like button when you're down there as well. It's all yours. And again, if you've got any questions about writing your letter, please pop them in the comments below while you're down there liking my video and subscribing and get my query letter. If I can answer them, I certainly will try. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Best of luck on your querying journey. I mean that, best of luck. And I hope you find all the success that you want and deserve. Bye.